Hi, I'm Dan.
And I'm Can.
And this is a Candid Conversation. Welcome back, pumpernickel breads.
Okay, come on now. Pumpernickel breads.
You got us again. This is, well, hold on. Last Christmas was just yesterday. I hope you enjoy all the cookware you were gave. Next year, we'll get you some cleaning utensils so you can keep the house tidy. Christian Christmas. We're putting the Christian back into Christmas.
Now, some people may enjoy those things, and I don't mind getting them sometimes, but I don't want them for my husband. I don't want you to buy me cleaning and cooking supplies.
You're welcome.
When I have lots of hobbies and stuff that you could give me things for that I would enjoy, that I wouldn't probably buy for myself, but cleaning and cooking things should be just gifts that, not even gifts, just like regular things we get. Like, remember when I used to be like, can I get kitchen towels? Because we needed some and I didn't even know. And you're like, you're just going on about your life. And I'm like, we need a new shower curtain. And I don't know if I can just get one. I remember that. That was so awful to live that way.
Yes. And I would always be like, yeah, because I didn't understand what was happening. I'd be like, why are you asking? Because
you'd be like, yeah,
why are you asking me this? If you need it, get it.
Yeah, I'm like,
because
the money's so tight. Yeah.
We'll figure it out. If we need a towel.
Yeah,
and you were like, oh, that's not how a Christian wife's supposed to act. I need to beg for.
And then I could never. No, it wasn't supposed to act because I was so. Well, money was also tight, which, you know what? It changes what I was going to talk about. I'll talk about the subject I was going to do next time. That we'll do a different one. And I want to start it with.
Hold on. Write down what you were going to talk about. So you
have it.
Okay.
I have it.
All right.
Don't worry about it.
Because both of us will forget 5 minutes from now. We won't have a clue.
I have my little card that I write. I have ideas on. I need to not. You know how I am, and I write things down on just little pieces of paper.
I know how we are.
It's not good.
Okay, you don't have to seclude yourself from this.
But you keep yours in a nice notebook. Mine are like, I have a box full of Post-it notes.
You have been destined to always have some male in your life with yellow notebooks around.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, it's true. True, very true. My dad's was letters to the Lord.
Yeah.
Or basically kind of like his journal letters that I would not just leave laying. I would read them sometimes too. I'd be like, oh, what's this say? And then you have, yours is lists. Get this to-do lists everywhere. But you actually go back and, I don't know that you throw them away. Do I end up throwing them away? I think I do.
When I'm done with them,
but sometimes.
If I cross them all off, I throw them away.
Okay.
So, anyways.
All right. So, just kind of how we started this conversation. I want to start with the phrase that our youngest daughter said to me one time when she was little, and we were walking out of a store. I'm holding her hand. It's just a nice little moment. And she says, "Mom, you're just a 2-dimensional creature living in a 3-dimensional world."
That's from SpongeBob.
I know. But it was out of the blue. And I was like laughing because I was like, well, this kid, because she's just always been. I mean, one time she said, we're sitting there watching Batman, and she's like, Alfred is Batman's slave. And she just said it nonchalantly. And then we were like, I mean, it's kind of true. Like, he kind of is I don't know if he was his slave. He was a servant. But it was kind of funny. So anyway, so she says this. And I was thinking about this quote when I wrote down that I wanted to talk about this at some point. And I wanted to talk about how in Christianity, we are kind of like 2-dimensional creatures living in a 3-dimensional world because our entire identity, my whole identity, the main part of my identity was my Christianity. Mm-hmm. I was a Christian before anything else, before woman, before wife, before, I was human, I was Christian. That's the top. So you have this 3-dimensional world, all these things that are parts of you, but you stifle so much of it because your identity is Christian and then wife and mom.
Okay.
Or woman, wife, mom.
Can I interject for 1 second here?
Yes. Yeah.
Because a memory just flooded into my mind that kind of highlights this.
Okay.
Because as an evangelical, and I became this too, the whole, you introduce yourself, and almost a lot of times it was, hi, I'm Dan. I'm a Christian, so I'm sorry if that offends you. But I remember when we were first dating, and I was Catholic, and you were evangelical, and we had debates back and forth because I wasn't a practicing Catholic. And you're like, you need to go to church. So then one day, I'm in college, and I was like, all right. Headed down to the Catholic chapel on campus. And you're like, oh, well, you were like, oh, you did
was
go
I
to
okay
church.
with that?
You're like, that's good. But then there was but it was a Catholic church.
Not that kind of church.
Close. So then eventually, after a little more dating, you took me to a campus, it must have been a campus crusade. One of your friends heard about it, and it was the college kids preaching and teaching. And I remember all of them came up and introduced, because we were new in there. It was a small group. There's like 15, 20 kids in there. And then all of a sudden, a group of us friends showed up. It was like 4 or 5 or 6 of us. So it was like swarm from these Christians.
Yeah, new people. We're growing. We're going to grow right here.
And I remember, because they're all like, oh, yeah. And I was like, I'm Catholic. I had to keep saying that because it was such an affront of the evangelical Christian coming out and coming to me, because that was the identity. I remember that automatically defenses went.
And you had never really probably used Catholicism as part of your identity that much. It was loosely in the background. Right?
Very rarely talked about it. And, I mean,
and now all of a sudden it's like at the forefront. Catholic.
It was a background image of my life because that was all my school and everything I knew. All my friends were Catholic, blah, blah, blah.
It's the culture that you were in,
But this was the first evangelical Christian experience I was in, and it just, the wall went whoosh, of just this overwhelming identity of evangelicalism being pushed. And I remember being like, no, I'm not. Hi, I'm Dan. Blah, blah, blah. What do you think of this?
You probably thought evangelicals were strange.
I did.
In a way, too.
I did. Yeah. Just because it's the unknown, fear of the unknown. And then just the coming at with that identity was just immediately.
That eagerness to convert you. Yeah.
Immediately defenses. And Catholic, which is something I've never had to say in a setting like that before. Whoa, what's going on? So, it is, I mean, especially with evangelicalisms, and I'd assume it's probably with LDS too and Jehovah's Witness that, boom, this is who I am. Mm-hmm. And it's effective because people know exactly. If someone comes up, I'm Christian, you think, oh, God, okay. Well, there goes half my language that I can use tonight. And come on. I better put this bottle away, and we're not going to be doing this tonight. So, fun's gone for the night. But it's such a forefront of their identity. It's remarkable.
Yeah. It's not just a forefront. It is the identity.
Yeah.
Like what's interesting to me is you thinking now, you grew up Catholic. Your parents, they didn't go to church, but mine didn't either. You remember they had they did when I was real little, and then they broke off, and then so they weren't going to church. But you went to Catholic elementary, Catholic middle school or junior high, and Catholic high school. It was very much a part of your identity, but it wasn't your identity. And I did not. I went to public school, then I went to evangelical, kind of a rigid school, and my identity was completely about Christianity. Now or about evangelicalism. And it might be because my dad came out of Catholicism and he was kind of like this different kid in his family because he left Catholicism, right? But I did have an aunt who also did. She went more Methodist, and it wasn't her like complete identity. It kind of is. It did become that way for her because she was hanging around my dad more. But she didn't do like my dad did. She didn't push it like my dad did. But so it's just kind of interesting that you actually were more
authentic.
No, you were more like your religion was pushed on you quite a bit without being pushed on you. You see what I'm saying? Like you were just in a Christian Catholic school, but they don't push being Catholic as the main. It was just.
You chose to go there, so they just kind of assumed, all right, we're going to teach you Catholic stuff because you chose to go here.
But it wasn't like they still taught you evolution and an evangelical is just a completely different.
It wasn't. We didn't have chapel every day. We might have had a mass here and there, type thing. We had a class a day on religious studies.
Did you have to read your Bible?
But we rarely opened it. But the first couple of years were more dogmatic, practical Christian or Catholic teachings. The last junior and senior year was electives that we could take. One of them was my religion classes was States of Life, which was a marriage class. So we partnered up with because I went to an all-boys school, we partnered up with a couple of the all-girls girls and that class together, and then we'd have a wife. So then we'd have to explore what marriage would be like.
Oh, this is very interesting. I've never heard that you did this.
So yeah,
what was this like?
Was married to this, I can't even remember her name. She was.
Wow.
Well, I ran into her the next year at college and she blew me off completely. And it was platonic as it all could be. We had to go out one time. We went out one time to go grocery because we had one of the assignments is you have to set a budget. And it's kind of fun, yeah. Well, in the class, okay, this is your wife. You two are partnered up. And you got to figure out this life and
how to live a real life. Yeah.
So then you drew out of a hat. This is your career. This is how much money you're making.
Oh, so this is kind of fun. Yeah.
I was a garbage man.
I like this. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh God, that's probably why she blew you off. She's like, no, no, you gonna be.
I don't know. No, she was a stay-at-home mom. Is what she drew.
Whew, okay, that'd be tight.
Our annual income was like $25,000 or something like that.
Wow. Yeah.
And then we had to figure out how to do that.
So you had very little to.
We had one kid or two kids. So you drew out a hat. It's kind of random. This is now figure out your budget. So we had to go to a grocery store and figure out our weekly grocery budget and house and rent and all this stuff. And 18-year-old, we had no clue. The teacher's like, yeah, okay, you're going to get a B on this assignment because this isn't really reality.
Why? Did you not stay in your budget?
We thought we did, but we forgot so many things, utilities and.
I mean, that's how you learn. That's how you learn. I mean, that's a kind of a cute little experiment. I don't mind that.
We had classes like that, so it wasn't. This is God's word, and we need to practice being. You boys are going to practice being preachers. Girls, you're going to practice being homemakers, and.
Or also, you all are going to go down to the university downtown, and you are going to stand outside and hand out tracts. And I'm going to preach. This guy's going to preach. The principal or whatever, he's going to stand there and preach, and he's going to yell and call people names. And I mean, that was But it was also just, if you love God, you do these things, and you get rejected, and you have that persecution, and you embrace that persecution that you brought on, mind you. It's not persecution that's coming naturally, which when you deconstruct, I do think Christians persecute you. They do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But and then that's not brought on by you. It's not you. You're not deciding to deconstruct. It usually just happens to you. And so, anyways, that's. But what I think the kind of the point, and even maybe even what you just were talking about might even like go along with this, is just how we live so kind of not even two-dimensional, kind of one-dimensional. We're not even we're not embracing the full human experience. Like part of you in that class with that girl was to learn, there's these ordinary things that I would never think about that I need in order to have the life that I'm planning, right? Or, if I don't want to be this, I've got to get an education, or I've got to get the experience, or you know what I'm saying? Kind of like learning about how the world works and how the system works. And I didn't really get that type of education at all. Like my parents didn't even have those freaking conversations with me. Yeah. Not because my parents were so bad, but because honestly, my parents were busy having so many babies and then working to maintain a living for all those kids because, they tell you the wife can stay home. Well, my mom, she didn't, because my dad also did not keep consistent work. He'd bounce.
He was employed. for the most part.
He was always employed.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, until there was a
we don't
time
want to
where he
make it seem
wasn't.
like he was some.
No, he wasn't like lazy or anything. Like he
Yeah.
was always working, and he would pour himself into his job, but he wouldn't like make sure he was getting paid what he was worth either.
Yeah.
And he would quit and not necessarily have the next thing that would move him up.
Yeah.
He would not really discuss with my mom, you know, and those were like just hardships they went through.
Yeah.
But that was for them to communicate about. But they didn't have the time or the energy or they weren't given the knowledge because they're coming from poor families. Like we didn't grow up with wealth at all. And so anyways, so I think my main point was we live this we fit into these roles that we're kind of taught, right? So we were both coming from, like, I definitely did not come from money at all. You had a little bit in your family, you know, and so you're kind of coming into these, you know, and we're working at a grocery store or whatever. And then we start to move up in the ranks or whatever. And then we have children, and then the conviction is to stay home, and I stay home, and I'm not really like, I enjoyed the time with the kids. I'm not going to say I didn't, because I really did. The homeschooling thing wouldn't have done it, but I'm living this one-dimensional or two-dimensional life. You know, I'm Christian, and I'm like wife and mom / together. Right. And then you lose all that third dimension, like, who am I? What do I like? All those things get kind of lost. And so, but you, on the other hand, being an evangelical man, you're told this is what you want. You want a woman who goes Christ, wife, mom, right? You want a woman that those are her priorities, and everything else backseat. She doesn't really care about those as much at all, right? But then you get in a marriage with that person, and if they don't grow out of that and grow into that 3D version of themselves, you don't really like being married to them. Let's be honest. I don't want to be married to an evangelical man. I find them dull. I find them boring, uninteresting. They're one-dimensional, two-dimensional. They're very flat. There's no surface or depth to them. And I think when you were at that space, you weren't as interesting to me. I wanted something deeper. And then as we went deeper, you became much more fascinating to me.
I think religion, especially the evangelical religion, makes you one note.
Yes, or one-dimensional.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
You had to be who you were. So you had to be wife, mom.
Christian first. Christian first. Yeah.
But these are your roles.
And
I had to be, and I think just looking at our upbringing and schooling, I think this illustrates it greatly. You, in evangelicalism, you were in public school and you were starting to have some freedom, and that scared your parents. So they put you into evangelicalism, which trained you to be one-dimensional, one note. I had it, but it was kind of background noise. Yeah. And I was encouraged to find out who I was. And it wasn't complete freedom to figure out who I was. There were still some controls of, all right, because, you know, our motto at school is men for others. So you still had to be this idea of how are you going to be better for humanity in general.
Which I think is... I think that's a noble.
It was tied to your faith, you know. How are you going to be better for the world as a Catholic? For the faith
as a Catholic. Okay, but being better for the world, I think, is more 3D than anything. You know, like how can I be good
freedom
for me and those around me? Yes,
so I was able to find my character. So when
you had much more of a personality. Though when you met me, as I was being introduced to the world through work, which was different people.
You were starting to rebel.
You were seeing my personality, and you could see it because it was there. I think when I became more two-dimensional or was losing part of myself even more so was when we got into that legalistic church. That's where it got real bad.
When we got married and started having kids. And
that's when I started going to church regularly.
Well, and then problems started coming up. So. We went to... I had no idea because I've only been evangelical for 1 or 2 years. So I was basing a lot of it on, okay, I need you to kind of help me. We have issues. What do we do? And you're like, okay, we got to get plugged in. And then we started going to church because we weren't for the first year or so of our marriage.
No, we weren't. And we were actually kind of enjoying it. We were having fun, but I was probably in the background was this hum of, you're not being a good Christian. You know what I'm saying? Because we were living a little more, like I was allowing my personality to be a little more freer.
Yeah, and I was trying to figure it out because I didn't know. I'm getting told stuff by we weren't in a church. So I was getting told stuff by basically your family. This is how a Christian man needs to live and act and behave in the world. So I'm picking that up, but I'm also just kind of testing my boundaries. Okay, can I do this? Can I go over here? Okay, I can't swear. I know that much. That's a firm line. But where are these other lines at on what I can do? Which was still trying to figure out where my personality.
You were like, can I cheat over here or can I cheat with that person? No.
Anyways. No. It was more, is alcohol an option?
Yeah.
These types of jokes an option? So that's where it rubbed your family wrong because my humor is a little more crass and sophomoric. And that's definitely some of your family appreciates. Some of your family's like, no.
And the one in charge did not like it.
But then we had issues. So then we got ourselves, once we started plugging ourselves into churches, then it started to really.
Well, and I remember once I had children, especially we had her first, and I was like, okay, I got to get her into church because I want her to grow up, I want her to believe. So I started going to church, but you were working all the time and during that time. So I was taking her to church by myself with my family because my dad did actually go back to church for a little while during that time. So then I would come home and then I'm feeling a little more self-righteous. I'm becoming a little less three-dimensional, a little more two-dimensional, moving down to one-dimensional. You know what I'm saying? And then we get into homeschooling and we're in it was getting so rigid. Like I didn't have a broad spectrum of things to like. I had this one narrow path, and that's what they want you to think, right? Narrow is the path that leads to heaven or whatever, and broad is the way that leads to hell. And so in their ideas, the narrow path, which to me today, I would agree that it is a narrow path, and that's your authenticity, your realness, who you really are, right? It's very narrow. It's just you. But they would say it's narrow in that you don't have many options. This is who you are, and if you are believing Jesus, you look like this, you act like this, you walk like this. This is how you are as a woman. This is how you are as a man. So it's very narrow and rigid in its roles and what you believe and how you act. Yeah.
And I think kind of wrap this up a little bit. The kind of point of this is the more we got involved in religion, the less we became individuals.
And I would.
We redefined our identity as we're Christian. And that's enough. That's our card. Hey, I'm Dan. I'm a Christian. And
I would go further. Yeah, the less. I would agree with what you said. What'd you say? The less we were individuals. I would say even the less attractive we were to each other.
Yeah.
Like I didn't like being married to, I don't want to be married to someone who, I like you. I like your personality. I like your silliness, but I also like that you can go deep. And I think you weren't even growing in that area of going deep either. You were kind of stuck. You would stay, almost your silliness would be annoying because you couldn't, you were two dimensional.
There it is my individuality. So when I had to go deep, it wasn't deep about me or you. It was, I had to get deeper into the faith.
Yes.
So then it was more pretentious and put on. And then I was like, look, I'm going to do this Bible study on prayer. What do you think of that? And how's that make you feel? You ready? Let's go get impregnated, huh? I'm going to put a baby in you after this Bible study, and you're like, that face exactly.
Ew. But also, I think for a woman's side, I'm going to speak for a man, which I'm going to woman-splain something to you. But as a man, I think, let's be honest, a woman who's very Christian, very fundamentalist, are they really I feel like because she's losing so much of who she is, that side of her, women can't be fun anymore. I feel like when I was fundamentalist, I couldn't feel that funness, that spark about me. It was dying.
Here's an interesting point about us, because we were put in these things. I had so much taste of freedom and individuality and being able to be who I find in me. And you are just so full of piss and vinegar that you aren't going to be shoved into a box. No one puts candy in a corner. So we had times where we were in our own private setting with that personality.
I
was
think that's
allowed
probably
to
what
come
kept
out.
us together. That is probably what kept us together, actually.
And I think you probably had a lot of tinges of guilt when
I did.
that came out, because you're like, oh,
I was constantly battling these two
I enjoy this,
things,
but I feel bad for doing it, you know?
Or I feel bad that that's who I, like, I mean, considering when I was young and I would be kind of sarcastic and my dad was like, shamed it.
An
And so it
explanation.
just,
The faith has an explanation for it too. Well, that's just the sin nature. That's the
you're being
flesh wanting to
convicted
get
for your
out.
sin.
See, that's proof that this is real.
You buckle down harder. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, so anyways, I just feel like fundamentalist Christians are less attractive, even though they claim to make it. I even think they don't even find themselves as attractive. I really don't. I don't think fundamentalist women find their husbands that attractive. I think they talk about them and they think not very good things about them. That's what my experience has been. I'm just saying from my experience. Yeah. And the same vice versa for the men. The men talk about women and they actually talk so much trash on like liberal women, but I think they find them attractive.
Yeah.
More attractive.
Let's prove this with some examples before we close.
Okay.
Kirk Cameron, attractive guy, does nothing for you.
He's all right.
Just my eggs.
I feel like he'd be.
My eggs went back up.
God damn.
Just because of the personality. Okay.
Yeah.
Chris Pratt, Parks and Rec. Oh, he's cute. He's funny.
Yeah, when he was young. Yeah, before.
But
now
at that time, he was a little more. He had more of a dad bod.
He was goofy, and he was and he was goofy, and he wasn't. Yeah. He didn't take life as seriously. It's not that I do like a very good sense of humor. That is a big deal to me. I will say that. But
then all of a sudden the Christian stuff came out and he slimmed
as
up
he becomes
and got
more Christian, he's more physically probably people would say, yeah, he's more attractive. But to me, he's not more attractive. He's less attractive because he's so like rigid in his beliefs. Like he feels more stiff to me. And I don't like a stiff personality. Yeah. So maybe it's just me. And maybe it's just you. Maybe we're just that way, but I think there's something to it. I think that you're onto something here. Like you could take somebody who was and then take them to now, like post-deconstruction, pre-deconstruction, post-Christianity, in Christianity, like, and compare them. Yeah. And I agree that there's something to that. Like if they're more attractive or less attractive. And it's not based on physical looks at all. Yeah. That's a very small part.
Yeah. Are you talking about Kirk Cameron's little small part?
I don't know what his part looks like. I don't want to know. So thank you. Goodbye. End of podcast.
No, it's not the end of the podcast. So the end of the podcast comes with, if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and give us a like, follow, and subscribe. We'd appreciate that. Leave a comment if you got time. If you're listening on a regular audio platform, Spotify, Apple, whatever, give us 5 stars. We'd appreciate that greatly. Helps us out a ton. And if you got a moment on either of them, leave us a comment. We love hearing comments. Go down below. Check out. We got a bunch of links down below. Danny Cam's main one takes us to the main website. But Candi broke out a few that if you want to skip going through the website, you can click on them too and see what they're all about. So, but that's all we got for you today. Happy New Year. Coming up next week. Hope you had a Merry Christmas. Enjoyed everything you had yesterday. Being able to block out all the negatives and just concentrate on the positives that happened, especially if you have young children. Reminds me of that Saturday Night Live where they're like, oh, this was a great day. And then they flash back to the morning. The kids are beating each other with boxes.
Oh, yeah. Just remember the positives. So all right, sweet. Just focus on it.
It's a good video, but that's all we got for you there, pumpernickels. So we'll see you next week when it's 2026. Bye.
Bye. Bye.